Welcome back, America. I'm Hugh Hewitt. Noah C. Rothman joins me, senior writer for National Review. Noah, you do not remember, you can't remember, because you were 2 years old, Bob Jones University versus the United States. Are you acquainted with the decision at all?
I am not. You have me pegged right. I was too.
You were too. Well, here's what happened. Bob Jones, which is subsequently reformed and changed, it's a fine university in Greenville, South Carolina now, was originally an evangelical university that adopted the policies of the South, which were segregationists. And it evolved slowly, but not fast enough for the Department of Justice, so that while blacks were admitted, there was not allowed interracial dating. And the Department of Justice supported the Internal Revenue Service in revoking the tax-exempt status of Bob Jones University. Bob Jones fought it all the way to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said, you lose your tax-exempt status if you do not comply with the Constitution and Civil Rights Act of 1964. Now, I have not yet had a chance to go back and find the amicus briefs, but I'm praying that Harvard filed one on behalf of the Department of Taxation requiring Bob Jones to lose his tax-exempt status, because I'm with the president on this. If Harvard insists on being anti-Semitic and refuses the consent decree, they ought to lose their tax-exempt status. What did you guys discuss on the editors this morning?
Yeah, we had a very similar conversation, although we didn't get into the history of Bob Jones. So that is a very valuable parallel. The administration's effort is expansive, and I think conservatives would be concerned if the administration was seeking primarily to influence the curriculum decisions that Harvard makes or any other school makes, the makeup of the student body, hiring and firing decisions by faculty and non-faculty administrators. What they're seeking to do is to force the administration to abandon DEI programs, which the administration has defined as discriminatory, and to engage in conduct that it compelled, with some frustration, Columbia to agree to, which seemed pretty anodyne to me. It is essentially to adhere to a code of student conduct and to oversee its non-faculty administrators and make sure that they're teaching what they're supposed to be teaching, but also to make sure that the student body isn't composed of foreign elements, non-citizen residents, who are materially supporting or rhetorically supporting the enemies of the United States, like State Department designated foreign terrorist organizations. This does not seem an especially controversial provision, particularly if you're going to leverage taxpayer dollars to induce those kind of behavioral changes. This is, I agree, within the realm of what the administration can do. And those who are arguing slippery slope arguments have points to be made, but I think they're just being dishonest. It's not like Democrats object to this tactic when it is used to advance their interests. In 2011, the Barack Obama administration promulgated a rule that essentially said, if you're compelled by the voting right or the Civil Rights Act and Title IX in particular, then you're under federal supervision and you have to abide by federal guidelines as defined by the administration, whatever the administration happens to be. Some enterprising law firms bid on this and tried to sue places like Hillsdale College into submission. Hillsdale College does not accept federal dollars to avoid being subject to this kind of coercion. So it's not as though Democrats who are objecting to this and people in the academic world are objecting to this on the merits. They're objecting not to the tactics. They would use those tactics too. What they're objecting to is the objective, to get anti-Semitism off these campuses, to stop teaching
the core of equal protection.
For terrorism.
The core of equal protection is that if you're an agent of the state or you accept federal money, you may not discriminate based on race, religion, creed, ethnicity, country of origin. That's the core of equal protection. Section 6 of the 1964 Civil Rights Act obliges institutions to eradicate discrimination based upon those core protections. I don't think Harvard has lived up to that, and I do not object to a consent decree of the sort that was routinely used in the aftermath of Brown v. Board and the 64 Act to take over school districts that were simply dragging their heels, doing everything they could not to desegregate, not to provide equal opportunity. Now, I may be more radical than you because I was on Harvard's campus 2 summers ago. It's radical, Noah. It's absolutely over the edge nuts. And that might require stronger medicine than it might require firing some faculty. It might require some supervisors from the Department of Justice to drop in on classes. It might chill some nutters' speech. But I'm all for that because it's not safe for Jews, and it's not safe for conservatives either. It's an unsafe place.
Yeah, and it's unacceptable, and the federal government is obliged to step in. I am not opposed to the measures that you're articulating. I do, however, believe that because it is an escalation, we should go sequentially up the escalatory ladder. The Biden administration established pretty plainly that America's adversaries, including Iran, are not ignorant of what's happening on campus. Indeed, they have provided, again, according to the Biden administration, material financial support for elements on these campuses that are disrupting their environments and making life miserable for American Jews and others who support American Jews. That has material effects on the conduct of U.S. foreign policy. America's enemies leverage that kind of destabilizing behavior, and the administration, subsequent administrations, should not be subject to that kind of disruption that possibly undermines U.S. foreign policy interests abroad. What I want to see the administration do is defend its case on the merits, defend what it is attempting to shield from federal scrutiny, from law enforcement scrutiny, and definitely from the retribution of this administration. Say, okay, what we really want to do is have this kind of discourse on campus, and say what that discourse is, and say, guess what? I don't really care if this is anti-Semitic or it's imperiling the interests or the safety, rather, of our Jewish students and their allies. I don't care if this is disrupting U.S. foreign policy. I don't care if this is advancing the interests of the Islamic Republic of Iran and its various terrorist proxies. What I care about is XYZ academic freedom in a very abstract 30,000-foot perspective. I want to have that conversation because I think Harvard and those like it and those in its camp will lose that conversation. So what happens subsequently after that, if the Trump administration wants to impose a consent decree or seek a consent decree and go to the courts in order to defend it, is they will have the political wind at their backs. They need to make this case public.
I don't know if the editors ever invite a guest, but if you do, Leo Terrell, who's the special counsel hired from L.A. to go to DOJ to lead the anti-Semitism task force, is very skilled in explaining this. Do you guys ever have on guests on the National Review, the editors podcast?
Not on the editors roundtable. Sometimes there are special editors episodes where Rich will sit down with a guest to probe them specifically. But yeah, we rarely have a guest on the roundtable formatted episodes.
I would love for you to consider just one innovate. Leo is very good. Hardcore. By the way, he's been left-wing sometimes, right-wing other times. Civil rights lawyer. Out of L.A. I've been dealing with him. He's my age. I've been dealing with him forever in the media. And he's hardcore. And he has as his objective ending anti-Semitism and protecting students who are Jewish on every campus, private and public, that receives federal funds or state funds in any way. And it's a very high and noble objective. And it's one of those things. I think it's a 90-10 issue. Last question. As Rich would say, exit question. Is it 90-10, 80-20, or 70-30, Noah?
I would love to say 90-10. I think it's closer to 80-20 just because we have a significant portion of progressive activists who do not see anything to love in Zionists and Zionism's allies. But that's still 80-20 is still pretty good.
I will take that. Noah C. Rothman on X and in the National Review.